Hey guys, it's retired pro player number 543 because everyone played sword character back then with the flag taunt equip because everyone used that for some reason. And I'm going to show you how to get good at Brawlhalla. Even though Boomy would pin me against the wall in every set and my most recent top 8 was 4 years ago. So what you want to do is... What? I've never been asked this. That's weird. People actually ask how to get good? Even I don't know how I got good. All I did was react my whole life and hope for it to work when I don't actually critically think of Brawlhalla. Okay. What's something people want to hear? Oh, I've got it! Step 1, guys. Practice, practice, practice. You want to spend hours of training mode in live absolute garbage that you put into practice for literally no good reason. Well, listen. I'm not going to sit here all high and mighty about how much I know about the game, but if there's anyone you should learn from right now to improve, it'd be the one person who improved off of someone else to get top 8. Got told was competition now by that someone after getting it. Do that one more time.
I gotta re-say it again?
Okay, yeah, just one more time,
I'm sorry, Junior, but I just got... I'm gonna run it back. I'm gonna run it back. I'm sorry, Junior, but I just gotta let you go.
And then mostly relearn the game in 2021 to improve later on my own and show it in 2022. So give you a chance. Maybe we'll start at the beginning. You start putting enough time into the game to understand how you play and know your 2 weapons and legends to your extent. As you know, not all weapons play the same. Some of the weapons in the game, like scythe, katars, and gauntlets, play similarly. Same goes for axe, hammer, and lance. They play differently, but they ultimately hold a similar goal. But in what aspect? This is number 1, finding an objective with your weapon. If you play something like katars, for example, your main goal is to find an opening, which means you either wait for the opponent to throw something out, or close in on them when they don't want to throw any attack out. The reason you have to do this is because you don't have the range of something like lance, but what you have that they don't, in this case, is damage potential. As a string weapon, you have the highest damage potential in the game. This is due to your moves hitting extremely close to you, as well as the ability to consistently follow your opponent better than a weapon like bow, where the kit's moves consistently push the opponent away. It's simply not the weapon's strength. This also means that you have a better chance of follow-ups such as neutral air recovery, as well as neutral air down air. Without getting too involved into the weapon, the point is that those are the strengths of the string weapons generally. If you want to improve on those weapons, you'll have to exercise their strengths more than replicating the strengths of another weapon and attempt to do what another weapon's supposed to do. This becomes an issue, an example, where bow or lance players attempt to go offstage unnecessarily and they get nailed for it. It's not their domain, but onstage is, so exercise the qualities that will benefit you and the weapon you play. This is where we hop into number 2, which in this case is reading dodges in the way that the new generation does. We don't read them specifically anymore, but instead we just read what happens after the dodge. That's actually something that a lot of top players have not told a lot of people, and as a result people have just been kind of reading specifics and assume that reading dodges is the only actual way to read people in general. We don't exactly do that anymore, so I'm just going to show how it works real quick. And like, he dodges and then he jumps. Let's try and initialize on that. When we play bow though, we actually do read specific dodges because we can cover a good amount, just like that. Oof. I still can't really close in on the jump. Hang on. He jumped once, and he did nothing right after. Sir. In general, a dodge or a jump after the dodge is being formed, so that's what we can start playing off of. And that's how we start to get our openings. He did another one. Notice how I didn't go for another dare instead of actually just going for the dodge in specific and just hoping that my active frames were high enough. There. He's jumped multiple times. Do it again. And then he just jumps away from us. That's how we start getting our pressure. We can close in on the opponent by also timing his dodge, so we understand that as soon as he's close to us, in most cases he'll just jump for us. And it takes him a while before he actually lands on the floor, which is how I hit the PC NSIG in the first place. Of course, with blasters we want to actually keep him at bay. So let's just do that. Notice how he jumped on dodge again. He did it again so we could just close in on him because he doesn't have it. He always had to have a resource before he lands on the floor. And in most cases, it's not exactly the worst option until it actually comes to bite you. So try not to do that. And he continues to do it. This is actually a very common specific in low elos and just all elos in general. So if you manage to pull something like this off, you'll actually have a much better time reading dodges. Let me just close them out real quick. Cool. Number 3, move with purpose. A strange phenomenon that seems to drag on for a lot of players as well is that the average player does not understand that you don't need to move fast to make things happen. This goes for every weapon, because if you move around too much and you dance around the opponents, and the opponent is right next to you and you're always in range, but you don't exactly attack, because chances are you might be waiting on the opponent, but they're not exactly budging, you should be able to close on the opponent relatively easily. When you're playing too fast for your own good, you start to realize in your own replays that you're just moving for no real reason. This becomes a very big problem when you play in something like a tournament set or a ranked set, and you realize that you're starting to move with fear instead, because you're not closing in on the opponent. The gaps between hits is too high, as in you're not hitting the opponent as much as you can be, and then it just becomes an overall mess. So if you move with purpose, you'll actually understand where and where you can't engage. So if you're too close and the opponent attacks first, then you always stay close instead of just dashing around waiting for something out of the opponents or consistently getting in range. We don't have to, no, we're like past this. Number 4, there's a lot of ideals to get rid of. The general player base is stuck on multiple ideologies that hinder gameplay on a tremendous scale that is so high that everyone I've coached has always come up to me with the idea that
everyone's really passive and that's how they win.
All people do is run. It's so unpunishable. Everyone plays
to become a winner, you have to separate these complaints entirely and see these things as frustrating but manageable instead of impossible. Brawlhalla is a game where every legend and weapon is capable of winning, especially since the movement on all of the legends are the same. Dodge cooldowns, dashes, all movement is universal. And with that in mind, you can easily tell yourself that there's no losing if they're playing my game. Meaning that you don't have to scoff at their weapon or playstyle if you learn how to close in on the opponent without also becoming desperate, or learning how to track the opponent down on hit with enough experience. And remember, if someone in the comments goes that it's easier for me who plays Kaya or Bow, just remember that there's a reason they're going to take significantly longer to improve than the rest of you who actually want to learn. Because you're not waiting on the game to accommodate to the worst takes ever spat out by 1300s, but because you're adapting to the game even if you have the, quote, objectively bad weapons, as if they exist anyway. And lastly, number 5. As a result of all of these tips and tricks and whatever, where can you start? There's a little something called benchmarking your skill versus heightening your skill. As you know, when you heighten skill in your opinion, you want to benchmark yourself to see where and how you've improved. Whether it be best of 5ing against a player who normally would always beat you, or a ranked session against several players to climb in an area or region. If you want to heighten your skill, you normally start with spars and all things casual to slowly and surely improve while also increasing your stamina and reducing the time it takes for you to actually get off the game for good. This is all just classic moderation. You'll mostly want to do the casual way and spar until you've refined what you want to, and then eventually benchmark yourself through ranked, a custom best of 5, or in some cases, a mini match if you feel that way. You become inconsistent if you truly benchmark yourself all the time. Even if you watch replays after benchmarking, it's not nearly as much improvement as a real-time game, instead of investigating every little detail and interaction as if the game plays out in slow motion. Benchmarks should happen, of course, but we all know about the one player who plays too much ranked and doesn't get anywhere. You know who you are. They don't expand because they believe that they can just rough it out in an environment where nobody's really experimenting, especially nowadays. Do yourself a favor and work at your flaws mostly, and then test yourself later. You'll gain confidence in ranked and know when to stop the benchmarks and start improving again.